Okay, we can begin now. Om Agyantimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tamsa Jivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Dalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम् नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे All right. So today's topic, this is another uh, difficult section to understand. We are on chapter 15, last four chapters to go before we finish our Bhagavad Gita. This is the shortest chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It has only 20 verses. The first five verses um, compares the material world to a banyan tree, to a inverted banyan tree, and this comparison is little bit complicated. So we will see. I will ask questions, and you all can tell me where you find it difficult to understand. Mm, This chapter is also called Purushottam Yoga. Uh, uh, bec- uh, Purushottam Yoga. Purushottam means Uttam means supreme and Purush means person. So Purushottama means the supreme personality. The supreme personality. So the yoga of the supreme person in English, or we say Purushottam Yoga. Um, this there is a month called Purushottam month. It is considered it comes once in 3 years, and it is a very this month comes once in 3 years, and this month is very auspicious to make spiritual progress. Um, some of you may have heard last year this month came, month of Purushottam. Um, Devotees recites this chapter every single day during this month, the month of Purushottam. Yet at the same time, this is one of my favorite chapter because Krishna very clearly explains his position. Um, so that's why I really like this chapter. So let's jump into it. The acronym for this chapter is HOME. Um, just like if you visit a hotel and you stay in a hotel room for a week, you don't do some fittings in the bathrooms and put your family pictures on the wall and get some couch and get and buy something, some furniture for the room. You don't make any such arrangement because I'm not gonna stay here long. So um, in a visiting place, if a person sets up a permanent home, it's not very intelligent. Likewise, don't try to make a permanent settlement in this material world, because we are not going to stay in this material world for long. And home refers to the real home that Krishna will describe. What is the real home, where it is, and what is required to go from this temporary home to our real home, back to Godhead. All these topics will be covered in this chapter. Very divine chapter. Okay. H stands for home, first five verses. O stands for ongoing life, reincarnation. Very important section. Krishna explains how reincarnation happens. What is the cause of reincarnation? What decides our next life? Then M stands for maintainer. This chapter is out of the word, where Krishna describes how everything is maintained, how nothing can be maintained without him. He is the cause because of which everything is maintained. And E stands for essence in three verses, where Krishna speaks about his supremacy. That's why this chapter becomes to be called that Purushottam Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person. Okay, let's have someone read this.
Yeah, Prabhuji. In this chapter, Krishna describes the process of breaking attachment to this material world. He compares this world, Samarsa, to an inverted banana tree, Aswatha Vikrasa, and detachment to an axe to cut it. He then describes Purushottam Yoga.
So this is just the outline that I described. Krishna describes the process of breaking attachment to this material world. He compares this world to an inverted banyan tree, Ashwath Vriksha. So this material world is compared to inverted banyan tree, like you see in the picture, and detachment to an axe to cut it. And for one who wants to transcend from this inverted banyan tree to a real banyan tree, then one requires a weapon of detachment. What keeps us in this material world is our attachments and our desires. And cumulative desires at the time of death becomes the cause of our next life, and if our karma allows, we are given the opportunity to fulfill the unfulfilled desires from previous life. So it is our attachment that keeps bringing us back in this cycle of birth and death. Temporary bodies which get diseased, gets old, dies. Okay, another birth based on unfulfilled desires. Make an endeavor to fulfill those desires. While fulfilling those desires, new desire come kicks in, and then the birth after that is to fulfill those cumulative effect of new and old desires, and this way the life continues. So these are attachments that keeps us coming back. Now the word used is axe. So axe is used to cut the wood. So imagine if you are kind of stuck in a woody forest which is all around there is wood. What will you do? You will take an axe and cut the wood and make a hole, and then you escape. Likewise, this material world is compared to an inverted banyan tree. If you have seen a banyan tree has its roots going down, has its roots going up. So it is very meshy, complicated tree. So it's not easy to escape. Likewise, this material life is compared to a very complicated entanglement. So it is not easy to escape this entanglement in this material world with so many attachments. So one needs an axe to cut this material, this entanglement in this material world, and that axe is compared to detachment. So Krishna describes this, and then he describes the Purushottam Yoga. Okay. Okay. Let's go to our first verse. Let's have someone read this. Just the English part is good.
Yeah, I can read. Prabhuji.
Let manage.
Material world is an upside down banyan tree. It is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its root upward and it branches down, and whose leaves are Vedas. And one who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas.
Okay. Now, question for all of you: has anybody seen an inverted tree? Has anyone seen anywhere inverted tree?
No, no problem.
Nowhere. Maybe
In the
if not,
water, maybe.
In
yeah,
water,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. Very good. Okay. So it's a reflected tree. It's a reflected tree. Um, Considering a reflected tree to be a real tree becomes an illusion because um, there is some story like this comes in Shrimad Bhagavatam where um, a young girl, she was very eager and she saw a piece of gold earring inside the water, and then she jumped in and she was searching, she could not find, she came out, she spotted again she jumped in, searching, could not find, she came out, and then she realized one elderly person came and he looked and he told her, um, um, this is not in the water, this is on a tree upstairs, and what you are seeing in the water is just a reflection. So likewise, um, our searching for happiness um, is within this material world is like, well, it's not there, it's up there, but our searching in this material world is like the same example. And um, another way to explain is our identifying ourselves, that I am an engineer, I am a doctor, I am a male, I am a female, uh, this is my home and these are my friends and relatives, and I am so much famous because I have my name in Guinness book world record, whatever we call it, and this and this. So this is illusory because I'm neither a male nor a female, nor they are my relatives, not this is my home, not this is my fame, because this is a fame connected to body. If I come back in another body, say as a dog, nobody say, oh, this dog name is in Guinness World Book Record. Nobody will say that. So it's not my name, it's just a bodily identification. So all these things is like a, a inverted banyan tree, which seems very real. So it seems, yeah, they are, this is what my identity is, and seems very real, but it is illusory. And the happiness that is found here is also illusory. So that's why Krishna says, well, this is an inverted banyan tree. Now, the word Ashwath is Ashwath is banyan tree. Another meaning of Ashwath is also Swa means tomorrow. Aswa means there is no tomorrow, and tha means to stay. So Ashwath means there is no stay tomorrow. There is no stay tomorrow. In other words, this Ashwath, this inverted banyan tree, indicates that I won't be staying here tomorrow. In other words, life in this world is temporary. It's temporary. Mm. Urdhva Moolam um, Adhashakam Ashwatham Prahuravyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavit. So it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree. Now it is called imperishable because this material world always exists. Because there will always be rebellious souls who will keep coming. But our business is, you try to go back home, try to realize your spiritual divine identity, um, um, and also um, um, Okay, yeah, I don't know what I was saying. So it is said that there is a imperishable. Yeah, I was talking about imperishable. Um, Material world always exist. Our stay in this material world is temporary. There will always be soul who will keep coming here. But the principle of material nature is eternal. Imperishable banyan tree that has its root upward and its branches downward. So if you see an inverted tree has root upwards and branches downwards, whose leaves are the Vedas. So this is a comparison, a description of this banyan tree. The leaves are the Vedas. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. Means one who knows what this tree is, what this inverted tree represents. He actually knows Vedas, because the purpose of Vedas is to give us a true understanding of this material world and the true understanding of ourselves. So one who has understood this tree, he is supposed to have known the Vedas. Okay, so as Amol Prabhushnita Mataji said, here is a tree. When there is an inverted tree, means there is the original tree that exists somewhere. Okay, reflection tree. Let's have someone read this.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay,
A,
Girish.
re- a reflection tree, a tree with its branches down and roots upward, is the reflection of a real tree in the water. The tree of this material world is only a reflection of the real tree of the spiritual world, desire. Just as a tree's reflection is situated on water, the reflection of the spiritual world is situated on desire. One can be free from entanglement within material world by cultivating a transcendental desire to enter into spiritual world.
Thank you, Girish Prabhu. So, water is a surface. Below the water, there is reflection. Above the water, there is the original tree. This original tree is compared to spiritual world, and the reflected tree is compared to material world. Um, and the surface which distinguish spiritual world to material world is desire. When we desire to enjoy in this material world, we stay here. And when we desire to go back to Godhead, we go there. So everything is based on our desire. Okay, I think I covered all the point. So it's a reflection of the real clean water. One can be free from the entanglement within material world by cultivating a transcendental desire to enter into spiritual world. Okay, so that's all. Reflected tree, original tree, and desire. Now something more complex. So let's have somebody read this. Mm, Maybe.
It,
Okay, go ahead.
its branches spreading up and down represents planets.
Um, okay. Now, maybe Soumya Mataji, I'll explain this because this is complex, and then I will ask you to read the next slide, the verse. So, here is a simple explanation of this verse. Branches spreading up and down represent planets. Now, if you see the picture here, so this is the original tree. We see the divine couple. We see Krishna here. We see transcendental cows, and we see Vrindavan, and we see original tree, which is banyan tree, something like that. And this is desire. And here we see a complicated mesh. and this is material world. And the original reflection is spiritual world. This also means that, um, in other words, Srila Prabhupada said that the life in spiritual world is just like the life in material world, but it is like a shadow. Like in we have relationship in this material world, we have relationship in the spiritual world. We have friends, we have families, um, we have a home, everything. Just like we have in this material world, we have there. But in material world, it's all illusory because our body is temporary, and everything, all relationship and our home and everything connected to this body is also temporary. So everything in this material world is illusory, the identifications are all illusory. But in spiritual world, the relationships are real and the things are real. Like, we have relationship with Krishna, it's eternal, it's real. And we have relationship with other devotees, that is also real. Even with cows, even our home, that is all eternal and real. But in this material world, it's all fake. In a way, it's a shadow. We are trying to mimic what exists in spiritual world. So there are a lot of problems here. Now, as you see in this inverted tree, there is Brahma sitting here. So this is the root. This is the root, and it has all the planets down. So as inverted tree, the roots up and branches down. Likewise, the topmost planet is the root, Brahmalok, because Brahma is a creator. So creator means, he is the root. From Brahma, the entire material universe is created. So everything emanates from, kind of, begins from Brahmaji, the original first living entity. So that's why that is compared to the root. So root up and branches down. Okay. Now, uh, in the down branches, there are, um, there are various levels of branches. So please hear it very carefully, just so that it becomes easy for us to understand. So there are higher planets, there are middle planets, and there are lower planets. Lower planets are hellish planets. Middle planets are is the earthly planet, and the higher planets are godly planets, heavenly planets. So they are compared to the branches. The branches are representing planets. So there are three planetary system. The topmost planet is in mode of goodness, and middle planet is in mode of passion, and the lower planet is in mode of ignorance. We saw in the previous chapter, chapter 14, modes of material nature. People who live a life in goodness go to heavenly planet. Who live a life in mode of passion take birth in earthly planet. People who live a life in ignorance, they go down to hellish planets or animal life. So we see here, there is Brahma, and just next to Brahma, this is Indra. So these are all, kind of, see, there is sun god here, and these are all devatas. There is, looks like Ganesh here. So this is all heavenly planets. And then here below this heavenly planet, there is earthly planet. So you see, they are engaged in sense gratification, they have religiosity, they are interested in economic development, and they are cooking something, um, and all this living entity is eating some flesh, and he is hunting. So, um, so this is earthly planet where people are in mode of passion, and they are engaging in many sinful activities. So here, the top portion, everybody is a godly being. Indra, sun god, and Ganesh, and everybody. So these are higher planets. This is middle planet, and below you see there are animal forms, and lizard and other living beings, and these are lower planets. So, these branches, there are multiple branches here, like, the tree grows. So the branches here, and then trunk goes, branches there, and the trunk goes, branches there. So trunk goes all the way, and there are branches at all levels. These branches are compared to different planets, and they are divided based on the three modes: mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. Okay, so its branches spreading up and down represents planets. So there are multiple planets of this inverted banyan tree. It is nourished by the three modes. In other words, these branches are divided based on three modes. So mode of goodness is higher planets, middle passionate planets, lower planets, hellish planets. So these branches are nourished by the three modes. Okay. Um, okay. Um, its twigs are the sense gratification. The tips of the branches. Okay, let's see. Any questions so far? Just trying to go a little so to make sure we get the essence. Is it clear? Amol Prabhu, Shilata Mataji, Girish Prabhu, Soumya Mataji, Aruna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, it's clear.
Others, is it making sense?
Yeah, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay,
Yes, Prabhuji.
okay. Thank you. I assume it's clear. So that's the separation of branches based on the three modes. Then its twigs are the sense objects. Vishaya Pravalaha. Twigs. So there are these branches are the planets, and there are living entities standing on these branches. And every living entity in this material world is looking for sense gratification. So they that all branches have the twigs, and these twigs are the sense gratification. So earthly planet have their own sense gratification, heavenly planet have their own sense gratification, and animal kingdom have their own sense gratification. Everyone in this living in this material world are looking for sense gratification. Humans are looking for their kind of sense gratification. Demigods, the sense gratification in demigods is like somras, and they have these heavenly girls, and then very scenic beauty. So they have their own kind of and there they have lot of dance kind of in heavenly planets. So they are trying to become happy. The demigods are trying to become happy through their own sense gratification. The humans are running after, you know, economic development, and maybe killing animals and trying to satisfy their tongue. So they have lower, and they have like gross form of sex life. So they are like lower forms of sense gratification, but it's important to humans, and they are running behind their own. So they are all on different branches. Different branches means they are in different modes. That's why mode of goodness, they are looking for pleasure in mode of goodness. Passion are looking for all these kind of passionate pleasure. And people who are further lower, ignorant, they are looking for, you know, uh, um, their ignorant pleasure, like killing other animals. One animal is trying to kill other animal, and whatever their own ignorant form of pleasure. Every branch, there are living entities. As Srila Prabhupada said, every planet there are living entities, and they're all looking for their own sense gratification. That is compared to the twigs coming out from those branches. Okay, hope it's clear. Its twigs are the sense objects. The tips of the branches are the senses attached to the sense objects. Basically, every branches have their own sense gratification, and they're trying to enjoy. Its secondary roots extending everywhere, bind the human society to fruitive actions. Karma anubandhini. Um, um, okay. Simple meaning is these living entities who are living on different branches, they are performing karma, which is fruitive activities. Based on their fruitive activities, they can go to different planets. If the activities are pious, like working according to scriptures, like following Varnashram Dharma and other things, helping poor people, others, they go to higher planets. If they engage in sinful activities, they go to lower planets. So every living entity, same with demigods, based on how they work. So, and there is evolution cycle for lower planets. So they are bound by um, um, fruitive activities, and based on their activities there are secondary routes that help them to go up or to go down. So based on their karma, they are going across different planets. This is cycle of birth and death. Okay. Okay, are we still doing okay? Some devotees can volunteer and say, is it understandable so far?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, more devotees can say.
So
So,
the
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
question.
go ahead, Girish Prabhu.
So the demigods can only go down, come to earthly planets
Yeah,
if they
for
made a mistake.
yes, for most cases, Prabhuji, it is described. Those who perform good karma, they go to heavenly planets. Heavenly planet is like they have good karma. Good karma is compared to you have lot of like wealth. You can exhaust that wealth by enjoying. Once your wealth is over, you again become like you have to do some karma, some fruitive activities to gain more wealth if you want. So their good karma takes them to heavenly planets. They burn their good karma by enjoying, and then they come back to earthly planet and they again do good karma. So good karma will take us up. Once it is exhausted, bring us down. Bad karma will take to hellish planet, sinful activities. Once we burn our bad karma, like a debt, if we have a debt, once it is burned by our suffering, then we come back to earthly planet. In this way, good karma and bad karma, that's why there is a saying that good karma and bad karma both are bad. Both are bad because they both keep us in this material world. Is that all right, Girish Prabhu?
Yes. How about the demigods?
um, so what is the question about them?
Do they stay over the heavenly planets or do they come down if they commit some karma over there?
Okay,
Down.
okay, thank you. So there is not much suffering there. Although sufferings are there, not much suffering there, lot of scope of enjoyment. They don't create karma there, they only burn karma. After certain duration they come down.
Okay.
Okay, are there more questions on this?
Prabhuji, so this is the reflection, right? So, which tree we are comparing it against? Like the main tree. I
Yes,
don't know if I am
yes, we
understanding.
are comparing to the original tree, which is which Krishna does not give a description of it. Krishna just say, we will see in the fifth verse, Krishna just say the original tree exists somewhere else. He just says like that. And he says that the
Mhm.
reflection of this inverted tree is based on desire. So once those who desire to advance in their spiritual life, they are able to cross over it. Those who desire but at the same time they have material attachments, they continue in the material attachment, they continue practicing their spiritual life. As desire becomes stronger and stronger and stronger and becomes so strong that one is very eager to go back, that's when they escape the cycle of birth and death and go to spiritual world.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Is your question answered?
Yeah, yeah, you said it has described that it is somewhere, and the inverted tree, based on desires, we will accomplish
The
stages.
original tree, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you. In this chapter, Krishna does describe about his superior spiritual abode, and we will see that in the upcoming verses. Any further question on this inverted banyan tree?
Prabhuji, one question, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Soumya Mataji, go ahead.
Uh, Suppose for animals, like cow is a cow and a tiger is a tiger, right? So how they will go to better planets, Prabhuji?
You mean the cows?
cows are like they won't eat non-vegetarian like that, right? And the tiger, they will they will kill the other animals, and that's their nature, right? So how they will go to the better planets?
Okay. Well, two things, Soumya Mataji. One
Mhm,
is there is a evolution cycle. Just
mhm,
like the demigods do not create karma, the animals do not create karma. They follow their nature. When a lion kills, there is no new karma created because that's his food. It's based on the previous desire in the human birth. When a human dies, um, with the desire, I want to eat flesh, he may be given the body of a lion. There, only his desire is fulfilled, and he may have bad karma because of which he got a lion body. So he's suffering. He's fulfilling his unfulfilled material desire, and he is suffering simultaneously. It's a cumulative karma effect. For lion, there is evolution. So it is described the next birth after cow or a lion is a human birth. But if there are very lower degraded species, they are like snakes and scorpions. They are very envious. So people who are very envious by nature, they may take birth among those species. So based on our cumulative nature, karma, desire, we are, if it is of sinful nature, we are given a particular kind of animal life. From there is evolution. So scorpion may become, so nature has defined already. So scorpion may go to the next species, maybe a fish, maybe a bird, keep going the evolution cycle, and then come to the body of either a cow or a lion, and then take a human birth. Till that time they are just cast kind of helplessly in those species. In human, they are again given a choice. They can either worship the supreme lord, etc. Now to the question, how do they go to other planets? Natural process. They stay there, continue burning their karma, their paying their debt, suffering. And from human birth only, they can either go to heavenly planet or they can go to hellish planet. An intelligent human, he does not want to go to a heavenly planet or a hellish planet because it's temporary. Like for example, we may like a five-star hotel, we may go to five-star hotel, but then we have to work very hard, and we have to earn lot of wealth, and we may go to the richest hotel, stay there for 3 days, and then we come back, and then all the hard work we have put in is kind of exhausted in those 3 days. Seven star hotel, and when we go to seven-star hotel, we know this is not me. um, I cannot, this is not my home. I cannot stay here. This will be taken away when I cannot pay. So a living entity, intelligent living entity is not happy going to different planets because he knows whether we are in demigod body, there is death. Whether we are in and everything is taken away that we have accumulated, all loved ones are taken away, so there is ghastly experience there also, or animal life or human life. So intelligent man tries to create a permanent situation, and that permanent situation exists in spiritual world where everything is spiritual. Does it help, Soumya? Does it answer your question?
yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Okay, okay. Any more questions?
Hello, Prabhuji. I have one question.
Megha Mataji, yes.
Yeah, some people who they are chanting, Krishna chanting, and they eat a non-veg too. So what happens with them? Like, what is that exactly?
Well, should not do that, ideally. But what happens is, why we eat non-veg? Because we are influenced by mode of ignorance, because this is tamasic food. There is, we will discuss this more in, I'm explaining the process. We'll discuss this more in 17 chapter. There is three kind of food. There is rajasic food, food in passion; tamasic food, food in ignorance; sattvic food, food in goodness. um, the chanting of the holy name is transcendental activity. So we have a particular mode prevalent in us. Based on the mode prevalent in us, we will be attracted to that kind of food. So when we are when there is now, all the three modes exist in all of us. None of us is beyond the three modes. I mean, I'm talking about myself. Tamasic nature, we want to eat non-veg food. A Rajasic nature, passion, we want like very spicy, very hot, very salty, very bitter, very sour, pungent. So we like those kind, like, people like alcohol. Alcohol is also tamasic food actually. Smoking is tamasic food. So like that. Now, how will Hare Krishna Mahamantra help? Hare Krishna Mahamantra will bring us to Sattva Gun. It will take its own time. So, as we come to Sattva Gun, the mode of goodness, we will lose the taste for tamasic food and rajasic food. Whatever now, it's not like if I start chanting Hare Krishna today, tomorrow I will come to mode of goodness. It will take time. So it's a process. If 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 you ask who is better, person who is chanting and eating non-veg, or person who is vegetarian but not chanting, this person is better, who is chanting and eating non-veg, because he will quickly come to goodness, and he will be able to overcome all this lower nature. This person who is vegetarian, he may at max go to heavenly planet if he is following principles of dharma, and he will come back. But this person, he will come to goodness, give up his tamasic nature, and then he will go to transcendence, and he will go back home, back to Godhead. Whereas this person can only go here and here and here. But this person, although currently may be here, slowly over a period of time, he will be able to go back home, back to Godhead also. But at the same time, if one is sincere, if one is serious, then the spiritual progress made is much faster if one chants the holy name of Krishna. And because see, holy name will take us to goodness, but if we engage in activities that pull us to passion and ignorance, then progress becomes little difficult. Just like if I'm sick and I'm taking some medicine of sickness, but then I eat ice cream, so medicine will work, but my disease will be prolonged. So when we go to doctor, doctor says, well, take this medicine, eat hot soup, drink hot teas, and avoid ice cream, avoid rice products, avoid cold curd, avoid these things. So if it is followed as it is, the progress is much faster. So likewise, we follow four regulatory principles. We don't eat non-veg, we don't drink, take any intoxication, take alcohol, we don't gamble, um, like casinos and other things, we don't gamble, and then we don't maintain relationship with any other man or woman of opposite sex nature. We don't have any intimate relationship with them. So we follow these regulatory principle, and then we chant the holy name. So there is don't and there is do. So we are taking the medicine which will purify our heart from all the anarthas and take us back home, back to Godhead. And we are avoiding things that may obstruct our spiritual growth. That is overall wholesome. Mega Matri, does it answer your question?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there more questions?
Uh, Prabhuji, one last question, Prabhuji.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, so based upon our what we have done, like if we have small bad karma and more good karma, first we will go to Naraka and then go to the good planets. Is that true, Prabhuji?
Well, we will go both. Either now there is a story in one of the Purana where one person, most of the time we have mixed karma. That's a fact. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they, bad karma, good karma don't cancel each other. So we are entitled to stay for some time in hellish regions, stay for some time in heavenly planets also. So there is a particular story where one person, he um, went to Yamlok, And then Yamraj asked him that, well, you have mixed karma like everybody else. Do you want to go to heaven first or do you want to go to hell first? Your duration in hell is way more prolonged, but you have a very short duration in heaven. Where do you want to go? He said, I want to go to heaven in Nandanandan garden, in the garden of Indra. Um, but you can stay there only for 3 minutes because your good karma is almost negligible. That's all right. So he went there, and he started taking, just have like few minutes there. Started plucking all the flowers, and then he started throwing Krishna Arpanam Govindam Arpanam. I offer this flower to Krishna, I offer this flower to Govinda. And he started offering, taking all the flowers and started offering with love to Krishna. And then his few minutes are over, he came back to Yamaraj. And then Yamaraj was surprised and he was like, you are not entitled to go to hellish planet. And then he could see what were the activities of this person during the heavenly planet. And then he told him, you're very intelligent. And he was again given birth in earthly planet, because akarma akarma, which is devotional service to God, Krishna, cancels our good and bad karma. So where do we go first? Well, this story we can see that we probably have a choice, but if we are performing devotional activities, we do not at any cost have to go to hellish planet. Another story that confirms this from Shrimad Bhagavatam is story of Ajamil. His wife left his parents, engaged in drinking, smoking, became a thief and a decoy, and by force he would steal, beg, borrow, whatever, um, um, all practically all sinful activities he performed. And he called his 11th son the name Narayan. And as he was dying, Yamdutas came. He became very helpless. They were very ghastly with three eyes and distorted faces and copper color hairs and very strong personalities. He became very, very fearful. He called out to his son to help him, Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. But he didn't call out to Narayan, he just called out to his son. The result was, by just calling out the name Narayan, he atoned for all the sinful activities. He did not get love of Godhead, but he didn't have to go to hellish planet. But then he was given a chance to live some more years by Vishnu Dutas. So he continuously chanted the name of Narayan, and that's how he could make it back home, back to Godhead. Soumya Mataji, does it help?
Yes, Prabhuji. Even I read the story of Pandavas after Kurukshetra, how they died, and they went to Naraka first, and then they came to Swarga. So that's why I was asking Prabhuji.
And
Thank you.
Yudhishthir Maharaj went to Naraka first. And do you know why he went there?
Yeah, because all his brothers, he went to Swarga first, and he couldn't see any of his brothers and Draupadi Mata. So then he asked for where are my brothers. So then they are in Naraka. So that's what I read, Prabhuji.
Because he lied. I think he lied.
Yeah, he lied. Well, he rejected Krishna. He rejected Krishna.
Oh, well, in that Mayasava, that
Yes,
okay.
when Krishna said that you lie, uh, that Ashwadhama is dead, and Yudhishthir Maharaj did not want to lie. So because of that rejecting Krishna's order, and because of that he has to go through. And then he did say Ashwadhama is dead, but he said it very, very kind of in a lower voice, and he referred to Ashwadhama the elephant.
Naro Kunjaro.
Kunjara, the
Naro
Kunjara.
Kunjaro.
Kunjiro. Okay, okay, thank you. So um, that that elephant name was also Ashwadhama.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
Huh. And then he kind of did that. So he said that, I mean, in his way, He justified that he is telling the right thing, but he hesitated following Krishna's instruction. Is it all right,
Mhm.
Soumya Mataji, Girish Prabhu?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Okay. Are there more questions? Okay, so let's read little more. Okay, maybe Soumya Mataji, you are reading, so let's read this verse.
Yes, Prabhuji. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns. One there and there surrendered to that supreme personality of Godhead from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immortal.
Hmm.
Like that,
Okay,
Prabhuji.
so this is another very wonderfully important verse. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. Something Shilata Mataji asked, where is the real tree then? If this is a reflected tree. So Krishna says it does not exist in this world. Means it is not existing in this material nature. It is something para, transcendental. So real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, and where its foundation is. Nobody in this material world actually know about the spiritual world, because kind of nature of this material world is one is covered by Maya. Maya is illusion. When one is covered by Maya, one cannot see beyond. One our spiritual vision is obstructed, and we can only identify ourselves with the body and relatives and the surroundings. We cannot see beyond. So Krishna says nobody can understand its beginning and foundation, etc. But Krishna has a request. And Krishna says, with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. But Krishna says, but you must detach yourself. Just have faith the tree exists somewhere else. With be determined to develop detachment from this temporary world. So Krishna says, with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, after just detachment is not sufficient. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns. So Krishna says, seek the place. If you go there, one never returns. Material world, we keep on returning. Either heavenly planets or hellish planets, we keep on coming back. There is repetition cycle in birth and death. Repetition. But if you go to spiritual world, one never comes back. So here Krishna is telling um, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns. Um, Another place, Krishna says, one who comes to my abode never take births again in this material world. We read that in one of the previous chapters. So Krishna says, one who comes to my abode never comes back to this temporary, miserable world. So here Krishna again repeats that having gone, one never returns. So seek that place. In other words, Krishna wants us to um, seek, like look after it, desire for that, desire for that. And what do we do after seeking that spiritual world? And there surrender to that supreme personality of Godhead from whom everything begins. So in this verse, Krishna is not describing himself as a supreme personality of Godhead, which he will describe in the later part of this chapter. We will see as we come to the end of the chapter, Krishna says, and I am celebrated as that supreme personality of Godhead. Krishna says that in the later part of this chapter. But in this verse, Krishna is only telling that you seek that place, having gone, one never returns. And what do you do in that place? You surrender to the supreme personality of Godhead. From that supreme personality of Godhead, everything begins. So here Krishna is telling many principles. He is telling what keeps us in this material world is attachment. 10 minutes. He is telling what keeps us in this material world is attachment. And then he is telling there is a spiritual world One who goes to spiritual world never comes back. And then he is telling in that spiritual world there is a supreme personality of Godhead who is the source of everything. Okay. And they are surrendered to the supreme personality of Godhead from whom everything begins and from whom everything is extended since time immemorial. So this give so here, after describing the temporary nature of this material world, what does Krishna speaks about about material world? Well, he says it's nourished by three modes, and people are engaged in fruitive activities, and they go to higher planets or lower planets, and they are only engaged in sense gratification, which are the twigs of the branches. So these are the activities. So Krishna says, now don't engage in these activities, detach yourself from these activities, look for the supreme personality of Godhead in the real tree, in the real spiritual world, having gone but never returns, and surrender to that personality. So this is the request. And Krishna says, do this with determination. Do this with determination. Then we'll be able to go back home, back to Godhead. So three things to go back home, back to Godhead. Determination is required to practice spiritual life. Then detachment is required and surrender is required. Okay. Uh, were we able to follow this verse? Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. More devotees can watch for it if it's clear or if they have question.
Prabhuji, it's clear.
Yatin Prabhu, you have a question?
No, Prabhuji, it's clear. No, yeah, just
Okay. Okay. Shilata Mataji, Girish Prabhu, Amol Prabhu.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji.
It's clear,
Yes,
clear.
Prabhuji, it's clear.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So let's go ahead. Elements of the banyan tree. So something more. So now this is the summary of this is actually a little complicated section, but because you are all very intelligent, it's easy for all of you to understand. So elements of the banyan tree, just as a banyan tree is very intricate. If you have seen a banyan tree, it's a real complex tree. They are like, normal tree, there is one trunk and there are branches. This banyan tree has trunks all over, hundreds of trunks. So it's you cannot even go close to the actual trunk because it's all a mess. So the roots of this tree go up and go down, and there are roots all over. So the first thing is, the banyan tree is very intricate, very complicated. In the same way, this material world is very, very complicated. It is very easy to get in. A single material desire can bring us in, but once we are in, it's kind of from all direction it entangles us. So it's very complicated. In his transmigration, the living entity trying to taste the fruits of the tree is moving from branch to branch, higher and higher, lower and lower, and the modes of material nature are nourishing his position. So this is a summary study. So every living entity is trying to enjoy, and based on how he want to enjoy according to scriptures or against the scriptures, he is either going to the higher planets or he is going to the lower planets. But no matter what a living entity does in this material world, is simply getting more and more entangled and going up and down, up and down, up and down, but remaining in the same home. Just like you have a home, there is second floor, there is a basement. If you go up, lot of heavenly pleasure. If you go basement, it's filled with water and many dark insects and swamp environment that's trying to haunt you. So sometime you're forced to go up, sometime you're forced to go down, but you remain in the home. Likewise, remain the material world. So no activities in this material world. Sometimes people say, if I'm a good man, I'm doing good to everyone, I'm helping every living entity, why do I need to worship Krishna? Well, if you're doing that, that's excellent. You still remain in the home, in this home. You cannot go out. You still remain in the material world no matter what you do. Unless we So Krishna has given an option. How do we go back to spiritual world? Krishna says one thing: surrender is required. You have to seek the spiritual world, and you have to surrender there, and you have to do that with determination, and then you can escape this material world. Otherwise, highly entangling material world. He's stuck on the tree of the material world, going from branch to branch, thinking that the next branch will be the one which will give him the fruit that he's looking for, that will satisfy him. So, another thing that comes that Krishna says a living entity in this material world is never satisfied. He always has unfulfilled desires, and he is making endeavors, and he thinks, if I acquire something else, if I do something else, get something else, I will become happy. So he makes another endeavor. That another endeavor is another fruitive activity. He's bound further. And then every action he does, he's simply getting bound. Just like the example of a cobweb. What cobweb does now, when the spider is hungry, the spider spreads its cobweb when he's hungry. So cobweb is there. Now, um, flying insects by mistake, they come and they touch the cobweb, and cobweb is by nature sticky for them. So these insect, just a little portion of them kind of get stuck to the cobweb. So just little one string that gets stuck, and then they become fearful. So spider does not come right away. Spider is just watching. And then what this insect does becomes uncomfortable. So insect tries to escape. So he moves his hands and legs. As he moves his hand and legs, he is completely bound by the web all around him. And then spider peacefully comes and eats the food. Likewise, a living entity in this material world is making lot of endeavor to become happy, going here, going there, trying many different things. But every activity, because it is devoid of Krishna consciousness, every activity is simply binding him in more and more material entanglement. And that's how it becomes impossible for the living entity to escape. So it's a very complicated mesh. Depending upon where the person is situated on the tree, he has different types of sense objects. The sense object or the twigs will be of a certain variety. So this we heard. Based on heavenly planets, he has different pleasures. So based on which branch or which planet he is in, he is just trying to enjoy different kinds of pleasure. Like a hog enjoys eating stool. um, 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 Likewise, different animals, they have their different object of sense gratification, or humans or demigods, they're, but the principle is same. They're all trying to enjoy independent of um, the supreme, traveling from branch to branch, thinking that he's making progress, but actually he's simply entangled in this incredible complex network of the tree of the material world. So um, they are going from um, um, the living entity is thinking, let me go to heavenly planets, higher planets, let me go there. So they are trying to go from different branch to branch, and they are thinking, I'm making progress. They are thinking, I am better than other. Everyone is engaged in sense gratification. I am doing these yagyas, and I am giving so much charity, and I am doing some austerity and sacrifices. So the person may think I am much better, and he may go to a higher branch, but he is still entangled. Any activity devoid of God consciousness, whatever be the activity, will keep him entangled in this material world. If one is within the complex of this banyan tree, which is so vast and complicated, one cannot understand what the totality of this tree looks like. So one who is in one part of this tree cannot see what the other part of the tree looks like. Just like I gave this example, if we are in the image, we don't know how we look in the image unless we go out of the image and look at ourselves. And there is no question of us understanding how are other people looking in the image, what is the background environment of the image. So we cannot see anything, we just see the camera. But when we go out, then we can see the entire picture. Likewise, when we are in this material world in one part, we cannot see how the Mahalok, Janalok, Tapalok looks like, how Patal Lok, Atal Lok, Taratal Lok, how Yam Lok, how hellish planets, and what are the activities there, what are activities there. We cannot see anything. So likewise, Krishna says one cannot understand what the totality of this tree looks like, because one is like very confined to one's own bill in a way. Okay, okay. So it's 12:07. Let's read this one last verse of home. So this finishes our one section. So can someone read just the English of this?
I can read Prabhuji. Those who are free from false prestige and illusion, who have conquered over false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with the material lust, who are free from dualities of happiness and distress, and who unbewildered know how to surrender up onto the Supreme Person, attain the eternal spiritual world.
Okay.
Thank you.
So in the previous verse, in number 3 and 4, Krishna says, well, you look for the original place, having gone there one never returns, and this place you try to detach with determination, try to cut the wood around with an axe of detachment, you do that with determination, and you surrender to the Supreme Personality. Krishna, this is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says in 18th chapter, Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. He says, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. And then Krishna says, I will take away all your sinful reactions, do not fear. So many times one may fear surrendering to Krishna, but Krishna says that no, no, you do surrender. You surrender. And Krishna says, don't fear while surrendering. And Krishna says, whatever sinful activities you have done in the past, Krishna says, I will free you from all that. Aham sarva papebhyo. Don't worry about your past. I will take care of your past. You surrender and you will be under my shelter. I'll take care of you. So here Krishna describes the surrendering process. And he says, Nirman moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama dvande vimukta sukha dukha samye gachanti amura padam paramahamam. Prestige and illusion means who can understand that the body is temporary, relationships are temporary, things in this world is temporary, my stay in this body and everything is temporary, and the mind presenting me different desires, they are actually illusion. They are trying to attract me, but they will become the cause of my misery. And they are not proud of anything because they know that based on karma, my intelligence comes, whatever ability I have is based on my previous karma, and nothing can happen without the will of the Lord. It is because of ahankar I'm thinking I'm the doer of any activity. So in this way, they know that I am insignificant, I am dependent upon the Lord, I am controlled by the material nature, the three modes. So they are free from false prestige, they are free from illusion, they have conquered over false association. So they don't engage in wrong association, but they associate with devotees who understand the eternal, who understand the temporary nature of this world and the eternal nature of the spiritual world, who are done with material lust. So they are not, who are not agitated by um, by the attractions, the advertisements, the glaring nature of this material world. And how one can become free? When one is free from illusion. When we are in illusion, illusion is maya. When we are in illusion, we will be attracted to things of this material world. But when we go, once we go beyond illusion and we understand who God is and who I am, part and parcel, and that's the true reality. um, so they are done with material lust, who are free from the dualities of happiness and distress. So some events happen in their life, they become very distressed, they take shelter of Krishna. And some events happen in their life, they become very happy and they take shelter of Krishna. So distress, they see that, well, um, Krishna is arranging the situation for me to um, um, uh, um, for my purification, to test how I will respond in this situation. Will I maintain my consciousness in this adverse situation? So for them, they are not disturbed by apparently happy and distress situation. A normal man, if it's a distress, he will really curse or have some, um, uh, behave inappropriately. But a devotee, when he is distressful situation, he sees, okay, how do I act in this situation that it pleases Krishna? What is best activity? And likewise happiness. So they are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress. Who unbewildered know how they are not bewildered by the happiness and distress and the false association and the lusty objects and the praises in the form of false prestige and illusory advertisements. So, who are unbewildered, they know how to surrender onto the Supreme Lord and attain the eternal spiritual world. So, it is not easy. Basically, we discuss these qualities of going beyond three modes, because three modes will have all this. Mode of passion will bring lust and other things. Passion will bring duality in happiness and distress. So those who go beyond three modes, they know what it means to surrender to the Supreme Lord. So although uh, it may seem very difficult for us to understand what it means to surrender to the Supreme Lord, but easy understanding is following Krishna's instruction. That is surrender. By following Krishna's instruction, we will advance in our Krishna consciousness. Like Krishna's, what is Krishna's instruction? Constant. Every chapter we will see that. In this chapter we saw that, in last chapter we saw that the summary of every chapter is devotional service. When we are actually coming to the point of actually practically rendering devotional service, now we are surrendering. Surrendering means, now whatever Krishna says, I accept and I surrender to what Bhagavad Gita says, to what Krishna says. If I am doing that, then I am surrendering. Even though I may be in three modes, by this process of surrendering to devotional service, practicing Krishna's instruction, that itself will help me come out of the three modes. And once I come out of the three modes, all these qualities will naturally come in me because I am beyond three modes, and my surrendering process will become deeper. When a person actually starts surrendering Krishna and actually starts practicing devotional service, whatever happens in his or her life, he sees that as Krishna's arrangement. He develops faith that nothing happens without the will of the Lord. If the situation is in this way, Krishna has arranged. And he sees that, he also sees that whatever difficulty is coming to me, it's because of my own karma, because I have given pain and I have acted inappropriately. It's coming back to me. So right now, I should surrender to the Lord's arrangement and act in such a way that I please the Lord. I don't. I mean, most of the times people make a mistake. The mistake comes back to them in the form of suffering, and to overcome suffering, they further make mistakes. Um, so this, basically, if you are practicing devotional service, you should know that you are actually surrendering to Krishna. The process of devotional service, hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam. Okay, that's all. Are there any questions before we end for today? Okay. Are we clear with inverted banyan tree, original banyan tree, how to go to the original tree, how the inverted tree is very complex and difficult to come out, what it means to surrender? Can few of you say that if today's discussion was clear to all of you?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, very, very grateful to all of you. Thank you very much. We'll end here. My obeisances to all of you. Vancha kalpa tarubhesha kripa sindhubhe evacha patita nam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Very grateful for your participation. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.